Hello friends, I'm very pleased to speak to the participants of the Open World Conference, and that's my chance to tell you a few words about what we are doing here at the International Eastern European University, and in particular what we do in the field of cross-cultural communication. Let me introduce myself first of all. My name is Alexei Morov and I'm the head of the Center of Cross-Cultural Communication, which works here. And our center teaches you or everybody, actually foreign languages, but most of all, and that's the most important thing that we do, we teach people communication. The entire idea of the center is to make you capable of communicating in almost any situation. Definitely that starts with studying the language of cross-cultural communication, which is at the moment the English language. But actually, modern concepts of studying the English language are very different from what they used to be, say for example 10 or 15 years ago. Well, let me try and explain to you why the situation is like this. The problem of the English language, which is indeed a problem because that poses many difficulties for the teachers of the English language and definitely for people who are going to study it. One of the problems is that the number of people who can speak English is growing every year. So actually we have two languages that are spoken by more than 1 billion people. It's the Chinese language, obviously, and the English language. But the difference between them is that the Chinese language is mostly spoken by the Chinese. So that's the language which is primarily used by its native speakers. While the English language is mostly used not by the English or the American or whoever, it is used by the people who are not native speakers. So the majority of the users of the English language learn it as a foreign language. And actually when they use it later in communication, they alter the language a little bit to bring it closer to the language systems that they are familiar with. Let's, for example, take a Russian person. A Russian person who knows 6 vowels from the Russian language. They are A, O, U, I, U, E. We don't have any more vowels. And this person is trying to speak the English language, which has about 20 vowels if we count diphthongs and triphthongs. So 20 vowels versus 6 vowels. Obviously, the phonetic task that faces that Russian-speaking person who's trying to speak English is obviously very difficult. And the English language, which is used later by that Russian personality, will definitely differ and sometimes differ greatly from the English language spoken by an English person who has grown up knowing about these 20 vowel sounds. We do not have, for example, the difference between short and long vowels, which sometimes makes us make mistakes in the situation like pot and port, for example, and things like that. So actually, when the English language became the language of international and cross-cultural communication, that started the new era for the English language. The new era in which the language does not only influence the world, but is also influenced by the world. And so when we speak about the English language as the language of cross-cultural communication, we have to understand that the cross-cultural English is not like the English spoken in England or in the United States. It is very difficult to try and change our mentality and understand that actually at present we do not need that classical English, which is definitely still a sign of great education and great cultural background. but can sometimes be not useful enough in the practical situations of cross-cultural communication. So one of the peculiarities of teaching English here at MVU is that we teach English as a tool, as an instrument of cross-cultural communication. We do not think about traditional English. We definitely do not think about the so-called Queen's English. We do not actually actively differentiate between the British and the American variant of the English language. We speak about cross-cultural English, which is a different issue. Cross-cultural English can sometimes be more difficult because it differs from what you are taught in your school books. But sometimes it can be easier to learn because actually in the cross-cultural communication we do not use the 16 verb tenses offered by the English language. We need much less. We do not actively use all the constructions created by the native speakers of the English language. So if we select the idea of cross-cultural communication as the basis for selecting the studying material of the English language, we can sometimes decrease the volume of the material which needs to be taught, and that will make the entire process much easier. Obviously, some of our students will never sound like the professionals coming from the universities that teach the traditional English, but they are going to be much more proficient in the practical communication situations. Well, that's about the language. But obviously, the idea of the Center of Cross-Cultural Communication is not only about teaching language. Actually, language skills are dead weight if you cannot put them into real communication practice. So a person who wants to be good at communication, at cross-cultural communication in particular, must not only learn languages, but develop his or her communication skills as well. And that forms the second and very important direction of the activity of the center. So first we teach languages, and second we teach communication. And this second direction is very wide, actually. It encompasses very broad spectrum of ideas and courses. And actually it is very interesting for us as teachers and very useful for most students. Communication skills actually can work in all the spheres of our life and in all types of actions that you can undertake in your studies, in the private life, in business, wherever. Because communication is the most important key to success. All the problems that we have in our life actually appear in communication and can be solved in communication as well. If you want to be a leader, you have to understand that being a leader is not only a gift from the heavens, it's not only your mission in life, but which is more important, leadership is the set of communication skills and technologies. And here, at the Center of Cross-Cultural Communication, we can teach you these skills. We teach you how to be a leader, how to build an efficient team. We teach you how to overcome resistance in your people, their reluctance to do this or that thing, for example. So that is all communication is about. Any manager, any person who wants to be a successful manager needs communication skills and needs to develop communication skills and actually needs to be constantly developing his communication skills. That's exactly what we are talking about. That's exactly what we are doing here. So our center is not only for people who want to be proficient at foreign languages. though we obviously do that and we are going to move on and offer French and Chinese to our students in the near future. But what is more important is that we are teaching them communication in any language. It can be Russian, it can be English, it can be Chinese, it can be Martian, whatever, but these are the communication skills that can make you a leader of social interaction, that can help you influence people, that can help you make your dreams come true and put your ideas into practice. Turning words into deeds is exactly what communication is about. And we are going to teach you that, we're doing that for our students, and actually I hope that it is very, very important for you, my friends, the participants of the Open World Conference. Why I think so is that the culture that you represent can sometimes be very different and differ greatly from what you see in the world out there. Your communication with, let's say, a little bit more ordinary people is actually cross-cultural communication. A person who is interested in yoga, oriental wisdom, and some esoteric arts, this culture is very different from the culture of a person who is sitting in the office and then comes home and turns on his TV. Actually, these are two different cultures, and communication between these two people is a very, very real example of cross-cultural communication. Definitely, you do not have the language barrier between you, so you both can speak the same language, but you speak from the points of view of different cultures, and you need to develop your communication skills in order to overcome the difficulties that arise in this situation of cross-cultural communication. I actually believe that we can be friends and partners and teachers and students to each other, coming together in the situation of education, learning, and very positive, very mutually beneficial cross-cultural communication.